Everyone, welcome to the ATYL live stream on a Wednesday night. We're all ready for vacation, as you can see by our decor, our shirts, etc. Because NASCAR is finally in their off week, but we're keeping it here for today. With almost the whole crew. Rob couldn't be here tonight, but we're joined by Adam, Ben, Dom, and of course myself to talk some NASCAR, recapping Indy, and then of course maybe not NASCAR news. Oh, we're also here with Jeff. Sorry, Jeff and Jeff.
Yeah, please.
My bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I do apologize for this. Don't worry. We'll talk about it later. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I'll have to. Yeah, I apologize. We'll talk later. We'll talk later though. But
how dare you disrespect the goat?
I just they were just kind of there. That's okay. I'm sorry. We'll talk a little bit about Jeff later. Sure, I'm sure. But then we'll talk about some NASCAR opinions as well. There's not a lot of news that broke in the past few days, which honestly a little refreshing. But we'll talk some news, I guess, opinions later. But let's talk about Indy first. First off, there is some unfortunate happenings that we need to discuss revolving around the ATYL point standings. So basically, we started with like 6 of us.
It was like 7 at one point, right?
6, then to 7, then to 6, then to 5. And yeah, not good.
So it's down to now 3 of us. RIP Dom.
I will. Right.
You were way far behind, though.
Not to make this political, but I have literally dropped out of the race.
Yeah. We're gonna scoop past that.
We were 2 minutes in.
But Adam, you went from like dead last to first. Look at you.
I am one big old hairy American winning machine over here.
Oh gosh.
We love it. And then you're not that far behind. I mean, 4 races left after break, and
it's very close.
I still believe the points are rigged against me, but that's an argument for another day.
Hey, if the points were rigged against you, I'd be winning. Just saying. But you know,
fair.
You never know. Hi, sorry, we're covering Dom's lovely face here, but I just wanted to let everyone know that we appreciate the comments and saying hi.
You're covering Jeff like and Jeff's faces. Oh, yeah, on the cover of the magazine. Mom, I'm on the cover of the magazine!
That's my favorite movie of all time. I love that. Oh my god. It is like that for sure. And then these are the driver's points, FYI. Kyle Larson winning at the Brickyard redemption from May for him. Lots of discussion around that win, though, when the call did not throw a caution, when they threw a caution, just the overtime debacles all over. But I guess first off, for myself, I haven't seen a lot of the Indy Oval in my time as a fan, but for the 3 of you who have watched NASCAR for much longer than I have and have experienced the Oval longer than I have in my time as a fan, what did you think of the return? Did it live up to the hype? Was the product okay? Like, what were your initial kind of thoughts?
Adam, go ahead.
Honestly, it felt like kind of like a Brickyard from 10 years ago when it was all about strategy, who was going to get clean air, who was able to actually control their car in the draft and being able to make passes. Passing was hard. Only a few guys really could master it. Larson being one of them. Watching him charge to the front with that last true green flag run was quite incredible. And then seeing that Keselowski really stretched it on his strategy and ended up failing. It felt like a old school Indianapolis race. I enjoyed it. I know the finish was controversial, but honestly, it was like a Brickyard from yesteryear, from when I was a child. It very much lived up to those expectations.
Well, it's good.
Yeah, I agree. As long as it was better than 2008, I think it was going to be a victory, and it was. But yeah, no, just especially having watched some old ones from the 90s now, having seen how those races played out, this one kind of had that same feel to it. And I thought it was kind of interesting to see how the pack kind of split into 3 there at one point, and it was just the single file train. It's like, we got a long race. This is a long racetrack. We know how Indy works. It usually comes down to fuel mileage, so let's just play nice for a while. And that was for a series that now does stage racing. That was kind of refreshing to see that. So yeah, I think aside from how the race ended, I thought it was a pretty good race. We had a little bit of chaos here and there with the William Byron crash and whatnot. But you know, that is the way of the next gen car now, just because these guys are so on top of each other now. But it was a good race. I think the oval deserved the opportunity to have another chance, and I think it was great.
Ben, more or less.
Yeah, I agree. I was there in person, which was awesome.
Yes.
There's something special about that track, no matter what is happening, that there's just an aura around it. It's interesting because the way I would describe it, especially this past weekend, it feels like a music festival. Like everyone's just sitting around, hanging out, having a good time. Like I got there right as the track opened at 10, and we're all just sitting around, hanging out, having a good time in the grass in the Pagoda Plaza. Jeff Gluck, I went to the tweet up, and Doug Bowles just casually walks up in a suit and tie, like an Easter suit, like it's baby blue, and I was like, "That's Doug Bowles." He just got like, it's just a cool vibe and a cool energy all the way around. Got to set in turn 1 for the race. There's probably, that might be my favorite spot to set at a racetrack ever. There's something about watching them come off 4 and then rip it through 1 is incredible. I thought the race was good, especially in person. You could see, like, I mean, obviously we all know you can see a lot more than what's going on in just the broadcast. It's always a special pleasure here on Bestwick call a race too, since he works with the IMS broadcast crew. That last, like you mentioned it, Adam, that last green flag stint with Larson making moves, that was probably the most fun I've had at a racetrack in a long time, because you would watch the big board, or you would watch him make that move going down the 1, and you would audibly hear everyone in the grandstand go, "Oh!" Like we would all collectively like take a breath in, like, is he gonna make this work? Is he gonna manage to pull this off? And he would, and it was so cool. Adam's dead, and it was so cool. Like it was so awesome to see and experience and live again. I highly recommend anyone go to Indy if you ever have the opportunity. It's so much fun. So overall, good race. Ending was kind of a stinker. I won't lie about it, but I get it, and it's fine at the end of the day. Like, yeah, I enjoyed it. Great time.
I will say, if you watch the full episode of Above the Yellow Line, you heard like my initial raw thoughts about the end of the race, and I was pretty harsh on it. I think I was just pissed off in the moment, quite honestly, just because inconsistently consistent is just my gripe about how this was played. It's Priest went into the safer barrier basically head on. No caution was called. In the past, we throw a caution for that. But then again, do we officiate it differently because it's the end of the race, or like, what are we doing? And, you know, Elton Sawyer talked to media, and it kind of seemed that way with this discussion with Alex Weaver based off of their YouTube interview that they did. But I digress. Regardless, though, besides that point, I did think the race, it was the Indy that we know, the Indy Oval that we know across the board. You guys are commenting on this, but the Xfinity Series race was the race of the weekend for me. Like,
Xfinity's the best series.
It was so good. The best series, hands down. But it was such a fantastic show.
Oh, excuse me. The Busch Series is the best series.
Yeah, Pardon.
I saw Dom's face and I was like, I got to
yeah, Dom was like, oh, no.
Better.
Yeah, but it was really good. A good weekend for Stewart Haas Racing too. Came into the race on pole for Cole Custer, Riley Herbst second, and finished the race. Riley Herbst with a win. Great to get him a win, and then of course Cole Custer in second, which was great. He also announced going to the Haas factory team in the Cup. Yes, Adam.
Can I ask Ben one quick question though about his Indianapolis experience?
Ooh, yes, I'm curious. Go for it.
How did it feel to hear Mr. Bestwick on the announcement?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. He just does such a good job. I will say, and this is a weird thing that Indy does, where they have their own broadcast team for the track, and it's not the same as like listening to MRN or PRN for that track. But like it was strange. Like I had earbuds in and I was listening to the PRN broadcast, which stunk because it was a lap and a half behind. So like I would just like, oh, there's a crash. I wonder what happened. And I'd be like, let's wait. Oh, that's what it was for. And like that kind of stunk. But it's always great to hear Alan Bestwick on the call up there. He was there in 19 too when I went for the first time, and it was awesome to be able to hear him. I didn't have an actual scanner, so I think on the actual like NASCAR scanners you can switch to the. I think for them there's the PRN and also the IMS broadcast. So yeah, it was great. Great time.
That was good.
I paid $15 for chicken tenders that were mediocre and sat in the grass. It was wonderful.
Sounds like
I met a lot of people too. It was really weird. I met so many people. Like,
shout out to Buddy as well.
I met
Yeah.
Buddy and his friends Tyler and Seth. They were wonderful. A couple people recognized me, which I was like, "Why? I don't want to be this no, like I'm not that important, guys. Like, let's move on."
It's so fun though. Yeah. Also, if you guys want more Cars Tour news and stuff like that, Buddy on his show Big Motor Small Blade does a good job covering that, and they also cover Shane Van Gisbergen a lot on their show as well. So another shameless
Shout out
plug
to
to our
Buddy for the
friends over
bush
there.
light. That was a good.
Yeah.
SVG, baby.
Also, yeah, we love it. He's such a good guy. Love
Also
him.
top 5 this past weekend. So shout out to Shane. Let's go.
Yeah, on an oval.
On an
Told him how
oval.
it
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
We can do it.
Big
We
deal.
can do it, baby. We can go all the way to Phoenix.
Good deal.
I have faith. I have hope.
He's top
Imagine.
in the
That'd be
standings,
insane.
right? In the Xfinity series.
He's got more wins than any other Xfinity
Yeah.
driver right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he leads.
That's insane. Oh, we love it. Yeah, let's look back at the playoff points for the Cup Series, because this does open the other conversation that some of you all hinted towards. Who was it? Aaron said, "Does Bubba make the cut before the playoffs?" And given the tracks that we have left, Richmond, Daytona, Darlington, and Michigan, he has a good chance. If he doesn't screw it up, he'll have a great chance. These are all fantastic tracks for him historically. Has almost won at Michigan before. Daytona, obviously, he's come so close so many times. I mean, it's writing itself that he makes it into the playoffs, is my thought process. That's
I think
my
the odd
take.
man out is going to be Ross.
I agree. That was my thought too.
Was it last week that I said, do we need to start worrying about Trackhouse? Or
Yeah,
was
it was.
yeah, I really like. I think the flags need to start going up mast, and they need to start figuring something out fast, especially for Ross.
I will say, I know, Chris Buescher's been quietly consistent.
Agree.
So I still have faith in the 17 car, but listening to Larry McReynolds on Sirius XM the other day made a very interesting point. Ty Gibbs has lost a lot of points in the last 2
He
weeks.
has.
Yes.
He has lost a lot of points. So
Well-
that 54 team better be careful.
And as we discussed, and I discussed in the full episode of ATYL, the engine issues that Joe Gibbs is having going into this very important stretch, not only for the Xfinity Series program, but for the Cup program. The past few weeks, it's all fallen onto Ty Gibbs for the Cup program. Otherwise, you think back to Sonoma with Denny Hamlin and all these other engine issues that have happened with the team the past few months. But for Ty Gibbs, from Pocono to this race at Indy, it's been engine issues that have plagued him and have lost him points. So during the offseason, that team needs to reset in their engine department and figure it out. But even too, when you talk about Chris Buescher, Michigan and Richmond, those are great tracks for him. He's won at them the past season.
Defending winner of both races.
Crazy.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean,
I'd throw in, talking about Gibbs, I'd throw in Truex as someone that needs to start maybe sweating a little. So if we look back, Gateway 34th, Sonoma 27th, Iowa 15th, Loudon 9th, Nashville 24th, Chicago 33rd, Pocono was 8th, Indianapolis was 27th. Like, if I'm him, I'm starting to be like, hey man, we either get it together or we're not going to make this. Like, we're slipping fast.
That
Right.
plus 108 means nothing if Buescher wins, Chastain wins, Bubba wins, or even Kyle Busch pulls one out at the end of the end of the
because
year.
there's a really good possibility that we get 3 different new winners this season in these next 4 races that we have. There's I think a decent probability of that, considering I know these drivers around that cutoff line are hungry and they'll do whatever it takes to get into the playoffs. If they know that those tracks are good for them, they'll do it.
We've had
And the
3
wild
different
card at Daytona.
We've had 3 different winners the last 3 years at MIS.
Yep.
So that's one. The one thing for sure that's going towards Buescher's favor for MIS is that Ford hasn't lost there since 2017. So
that's true.
I think they're in good shape for that. I mean, I'd be shocked if they give that one up.
Yeah.
But I think the way Ford is this year, there's a chance. But
yeah, I was gonna say Toyota, if anything, would win at Michigan. If Ford doesn't.
I'd say they're more qualified to win at Richmond than Michigan.
No, 100%.
That's the short track package is way better.
I mean, Truex had it locked up in April. Time has no meaning. So March, April, March.
And then,
Easter.
And then
Easter Day.
the jump, the restart situation, and all that stuff.
Like,
yeah. Also, you know what? I'm gonna say this real quick about going to the racetrack on a holiday. So I was at Richmond for like Easter, right? Like I was there Didn't
So
spend
was-
time with family, but yeah, so were you. Yeah, hell yeah, we were there together. But it was so fun. It was a good time. So like, I know we all gripe about the holiday races, but people go to like football games on Thanksgiving and stuff like that. Yeah,
And
so there you go.
Christmas Day now.
Thanksgiving's not a real holiday, though.
Yeah,
Let's be
I was
honest.
gonna say it's
fair. It's just for
the
food.
difference would be the call out for that would be is for a very long time NASCAR made it a point to not race on Easter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Yeah.
I think that's why it's. But
And I
again,
think
now the NFL has taken over Christmas, so
Right.
Mhm.
life has no meaning.
Eat at Arby's, kids.
Yeah.
I got a race car here.
Fair.
If you
We're
want to
just all
look.
died there. We're doing
I was
great,
going to
guys.
add something to what Ben said, but I don't think I can for on the show.
Oh,
Here we go.
oh.
No,
All
I'm
right,
ready.
Bush
All right,
race.
no, listen. All right, we prepared for this, kids. So
Flip your
here
hat.
we go. All right, we're ready. Now, Adam, I got to tell you, having this fine gentleman here, I did not know that Gordon won in the Pepsi car in the Busch Series.
Yes, Homestead 2000 or 99 or something. Yeah, is that Homestead?
Did he win in both years or just 1 year?
Just one of the years.
Okay.
I actually have that car in a jewel case, a 164.
Very
Nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just stumbled upon a Gordon car in an auction, and I figured you guys would enjoy it. But we've got
Ooh.
T-Rex here with us.
Ooh.
This is not a Busch Series car, though, so I do apologize. I've got one on the other side, but I'm not going to go and get it.
We'll be
Ben,
honest, though, that T-Rex car really could have been a Busch Series scheme.
it really could have. It
Yeah.
really could have. I mean, I think just because of the lore, it doesn't get into the Busch Series category. But, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him to run it there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ben, give us your top 25 Busch Series paint schemes of all time.
Oh, Jesus.
I bet a Mark Martin scheme's at number one.
Actually, a Mark Martin scheme is not at number one on my
Ooh.
list.
Okay.
Number one is the Jeff Green Nesquik Taurus.
Oh, beautiful. Oh,
That
what
will
a-
always, and it's because I'm a Kentucky kid.
instead of
Fun
flames,
story, actually.
chocolate milk splashing. Come on.
Yeah. So good. So good. Fun story,
It's
actually.
cool and
So
refreshing on a
my
hot Kentucky summer day.
exactly. My friend lives in Owensboro and has for his whole life, and his wife works at a bank there locally. And they said a gentleman came in and she was trying to figure out who this man was because she recognized him, and they like asking all of his information and stuff. And then it hits her that she's talking to Jeff Green, setting up a bank account. So that was cool this week. That's number one, though, is Jeff Green. Number two is probably the Winn-Dixie car. Winn-Dixie cars will always be one of my favorites. Let's see. I'm trying to think now. Number
23 to go.
three. What's that?
It's a 23 to go.
Yeah, geez, this is hard. I gotta think. Like, I didn't plan this far out in advance for this conversation. Oh, a ghost has appeared.
No,
Ooh,
working on it.
Hello.
Almost there.
we're
Hello?
still bushing it.
Number three is probably the Morgan Shepherd Cheerwine car, just because I love Cheerwine.
Now, what number was that car?
21. I have a diecast of it that I bought on
Okay.
eBay for $20, and
Okay.
that's one of my pride and joys.
Gotcha.
What else is there? I'm trying to think. There's so much.
The 21 Cheerwine car. Wow. I don't think of it. I'll have to look that car up. Did you out? Oh,
All right,
God,
while
here
he's
goes-
getting that,
here we go.
this is a nationwide car, but I think this one doesn't get as much love as it should. I'm a big fan
Yes.
of this. Big
Is
fan.
that the Landon or is that the
This is Dale Jr.
Earnhardt?
This is
Okay.
Dale Jr. Yeah. Landon's
Adam.
was red front.
Yeah, and this is the Cheerwine.
Oh wow. Ooh,
Oh
yeah,
my-
that is hot.
Gosh, that is sick.
It was all. It's like an almost Wood Brothers, not Wood Brothers.
Right.
The knockoff Wood Brothers.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I think this
That's
is 89, 90, somewhere in there. Let's see. I turned it upside down. I can't read. Copyright 1991. Excuse me. So
Copyright.
that's one of my pride and joys.
Good grief.
I'm trying to think if I can think of any other Busch Series.
Thank you,
schemes.
John. It was the last Busch Series race he ran and won in 2000 at Homestead.
Batting 1,000. Going out. Okay.
points.
all right, so there was the point standings in case you guys.
Ooh,
All right, back to the Busch Series.
we might be on vacation, but there's a ghost. It's Halloween.
We're getting spooky up in here.
Nathan was
Am I
going-
back?
Yes, you're back. You're back. You're back.
He's alive.
Okay.
Yeah, so we
Responsible
were
now.
talking
Sorry,
about
everybody.
the points and talking about
Sure.
you know, the chances of Ford winning at MIS and Richmond. Yeah.
Truex probably
we're
going to
not-
fall out of the playoffs.
We had a brief mention of Cheerwine and Pepsi.
Yeah.
You know what? Cheerwine, love it. It rocks.
Not
But
Pepsi.
Dr. Pepper, that's where it's at.
Dr. Pepper. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Can't argue that one.
And you. As an FYI to the viewers, Wi-Fi on my end is a little rocky. The pains of moving and changing things around. So, if I
Rocky?
dip out, continue.
Hey, where
also
did all
love the
your
movie.
things go?
Oh no.
They disappeared.
Is this
There's a
public? Can
ghost
we
in the
talk about
kitchen
this?
basement.
What's your address? What's your new address?
Those are the things we don't talk about. But yeah, here we are. But at some point we will have to do like an actual like real diecast like show and tell and things like that.
Okay.
You're gonna need
I would
probably
have to
about a
be-
year for me
I
to do
think-
mine.
The only
Yeah.
way we could do that is if we covered the entire Rolex 24. That would be
Yeah.
the only way
We
we'd
should
have
do a
time.
24-hour stream.
Honestly, we should do that.
The gang
Oh
goes
my God.
crazy.
For starters, these two containers over my left shoulder are full of 164s.
Jesus Christ. I had to get rid of a lot of my these are 164s. I'm okay, I'm fine, I swear.
My computer is surrounded by 124s right now. So
That's
I
incredible.
sold off. I've sold off a couple. I need to get some more going here soon again. Once I move.
We love moving.
No,
All right. Do you guys want to talk about a controversial topic?
I would
I'm
love
all about
nothing more.
controversies,
I
baby.
love politics.
Okay. Oh no, not that. Not that. We're gonna move on from Indy and from
Mr. President.
politics. And talk about some motorsports news. There's not a lot that broke this week, but there is a good talking point from the Money Lap with Landon Castle and Parker Kligerman that was discussed. They talked about a Denny Hamlin quote about charter negotiations. Denny essentially said, quote, "It cost us $18 million a year to put a car on the racetrack. We've asked NASCAR to just cover our costs, nothing more." And the answer has been repeatedly no. You get what you get and you'll like it, essentially. Landon Castle's initial reaction is kind of what's sparking this whole talk about, all right, like what's like, we don't agree with this. So Landon Castle said, it's like running a business and going to your customer and being like, I just want you to cover our overhead so everything else can be profit. He also went on to say that Denny isn't wrong in his comments. He's not saying that the teams don't deserve like $18 million from NASCAR, but he wanted to point out that it's an absurd thing to ask. And NASCAR could ultimately turn around and say, well, it's not our problem that you're spending $18 million. Like you're spending well over that on sponsorship things, but you don't have to be, which is part of the problem too. Landon said, quote, "NASCAR is not making you hire 100 engineers. NASCAR is not making you rent private jets, et cetera, et cetera. You're doing this because it's a competitive business and you want to be a step ahead of your competition, but ultimately you shouldn't complain about how much you're spending when you're the one that's actively making the decision to spend all of that." So we had this was the initial post. Hold on, where
This
is
is some
it?
flat earth science, if I'm honest.
It really is. Like this is, I mean, and this is the quote that went viral on social media, which part of me thinks the take was just to go viral, but that's just me. And then like Denny chimed in with his thoughts and opinions and all this other stuff, and he actually kind of explained his take a little bit more and whatnot.
Sorry,
just
but
a
you're gonna
lot.
need more revenues, boss. This big. Get ready to learn Chinese, buddy. To me.
So good. Jesus. There's just a lot with this. There's a lot. There was a lot of memes too. I appreciate Parker playing along with the memes and stuff. But you can read Denny's thoughts on the screen, and then I'll switch over to Chris Gabehart had thoughts, and Brett Griffin commented something that Chris is like, I don't agree with Brett that often, but I agree with him on his take. So it's all very interesting, to be quite honest with you all. But I don't know if you guys had thoughts on this, on the comments that Landon made on even to Landon even suggested that the teams agree on a price cap, which I'm like, all right, are we Formula One or what is this?
What-
So it's odd.
It's like how there's like a. I don't like how you just prime asked what Ben do. That kind of makes me a little scared. It's like how like in other sports there's like a salary cap, but there's also a minimum salary cap. Like I can't start a Major League Baseball team or a hockey team in the NHL with like a bunch of high schoolers and college kids that suck and pay them bare minimum and just keep a ton of money at the end of the day. So I understand like the concept of a salary cap in that regard, but I mean, like I don't see how that's necessarily going to fix anything at the end of the day in some ways.
I mean, just inflation and however the world is working right now. I mean, you're spending more and more and more, and to keep your partners happy, you're having to give them a return on their investment. And a lot of times that's with activations or other things around the track that you have to spend money on. And you have to spend money on hiring good people like social media people, marketers, engineers, like Landon mentioned, and things like that, like to make your team successful and to keep your business alive. But then the problem is you're not making enough to put back into your business. You're not making enough to give back to your people and keep things viable. That's why you see all these teams shutting down or merging or whatever. Like we had this discussion a little bit last week as well, talking about JD Motorsports and all this other stuff and kind of where their team is heading. But I mean, I liked who Chris Gabehart's quote where he's like, if you keep cutting the grass shorter and shorter, eventually there'll be nothing left. It's an interesting thought.
That do be how cutting grass work.
It do be how cutting grass works. But eventually grass grows back.
Especially if
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
but you have to like let it set for like a month if you're gonna cut it down to nothing.
That's right. You're right.
I mean, I feel like Landon's quotes are very flat earth sciencey because like
and I
could spend bare minimum on a team, but then they're gonna run 35th and beg pardon, but they're gonna run like shit, and I'd prefer to not run like shit if I'm gonna run a team.
Right. And I will say I listened to the whole episode so I could get context. So it's not just me taking this quote out of context. Like this, I read around and I try to give you all the context you needed to make your opinions on this. But no, it feels very like flat earth, like NASCAR business 101. Like it feels out of touch. The quote felt very out of touch for him to say, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like the teams and the sanctioning body are like the blind leading the blind when they really don't know what's going on.
Well, when NASCAR says we're heading in a good spot and Denny's over here kind of being the spokesperson of the teams in his own podcast saying like we're treading water and we're at a bad point, clearly NASCAR likes where they're headed. The teams don't. And there's just an impasse. Denny said like we're at an impasse is what he used in his latest episode. So doesn't really bode well. That's also just really funny. So I don't know.
More revenue.
Pre-revenue. But yeah, this is what Brian said. I have a feeling we're going to end up having a drivers union happen similar to the one from Talladega in 1969, but with a driver union because of the charter fiasco. And I do want to say too, like I know we talk about this whole topic quite often, and the reason I bring this up is one, because a lot of y'all have been involved in this conversation online, so I felt like we bring it here. Two, it's just good to be in the know, what's going on, etc. But I know we do talk about the charter negotiations a lot and the frustrations. Like it's not like we're adding anything new to this. We're just adding fuel to the fire, essentially. But I just felt like it was interesting with that take coming from somebody else who's within the industry on a show where two drivers are talking, etc. That they have a completely opposite take of any other driver and team in the garage right now. That was my kind of what made me jump on adding this to the show today was I thought that was kind of odd.
I mean, I don't think number one, I don't think it'll get as extreme as 1969 and the union that led to a strike and guys not racing at Talladega. But I mean, this could escalate fairly high if we're honest here. I mean, this could become a thing that becomes a massive issue, especially for team owners. Unions fight for the rights of the workers. That's what their job is to do. And when you have a kind of, I mean, I don't know if I'd qualify the RTA as a full-on union in some ways right now.
Yeah, I agree.
But, you know, with the right people in power, it could easily become a proper one that gets to a higher elevated point. I'm not a business guy. I don't know. I majored in video. I suck at math.
Let's get Tyler Ankram's sponsor on board with helping us organize.
The Lunai or whatever.
Liuna.
I've looked at that car for like 5 years and could never figure out how to say it. So
Liuna.
It's always a cool paint scheme. Not to get sidetracked, Taylor.
No. Honestly, though, it's like one of my favorite paint schemes. Like,
It is.
okay, I am gonna get sidetracked for a second, but like for all of us that take photos at the racetrack, is like I noticed when we were at the IMSA race, Ben, I was always gravitated towards a certain car, and I would always like have that just highly in my photo feed, and I'd be like, I didn't realize I took this many pictures of that car. Do you guys gravitate towards a car when you're taking photos that you may
Yeah.
not realize it just because of color?
Yeah.
I mean, I got a ton of Eric Jones car photos this weekend for some reason.
Oh, that's badass though.
Didn't mean to, but I got a bunch of Eric Jones photos. Eric Jones, if you ever see this, let me be your photographer.
I had a bunch of Kyle Busch's Rebel Bourbon Xfinity car from at Charlotte. Like I didn't
Ooh.
realize I probably had about 200 shots of him in it.
That's cool though.
So, yeah,
Ugh.
I mean, I don't know though. Money, like it's one of those things that you got to spend money to be competitive, and a salary cap could be useful and could be cool to experiment with, and maybe a lower series to start. But you're already kind of the trucks run a spec sealed motor. You're already kind of capping that at the end of the day. Like, I don't know. I don't run businesses. I'm just a hillbilly kid from Kentucky. Like,
yeah, that's all right. I don't know business either. We just talk motorsports here. We just talk NASCAR. That's all we do. We just talk. But yeah, I mean, and the other argument that I'm seeing in the comments too is like the team owners have like mansions in exotic cars and private jets, whatever. Like they're speaking nonsense. Like that's another valid. I mean, I don't know valid point, but that's another point too. It's like they're complaining about it, but they're
so the Busch series
topic for sure.
Oh, she's back. Oh, maybe. Taylor, you there? Do you copy driver?
Okay. I will go with this until she comes back.
Go for it.
I'm in the same boat as you, Ben, where I don't know enough about the whole ins and outs of what they're asking, like how all that works. The only thing I know is with F1, they just have a cost cap. But again, like that's a situation where F1 has been like the teams do all of their spending on their own, but they don't rely on F1 to pay them anything or help them get to the races or whatnot. But that's the one thing that I'm trying to remind myself. And I saw someone say like, yeah, so Denny as the voice of the owners isn't the best idea. I doubt they want him to be, but Rick Hendrick, Roger Penske, Jack Roush, they don't have social media. So like they're not talking about it every single week. Like they're not, it's not like the only comparison I can think is like, Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys. He goes on a radio show every week to talk basically the state of the Cowboys this week. What are we working on this week? What are our issues? What are we concerned about? We don't have that with Hendrick, with Petty, with Childress. So
it's very old school way of business.
Denny is the guy that's like saying, here, from our point of view at 2311 Racing, here's what's going on. And it may not be the same for Rick Hendrick because, I mean, 2311 Racing just put up a brand new, beautiful facility. But that is just one of, like, putting that on Hendrick's campus, like, it's as big as the Exalta building. That's not even where the garages are. So, like, like Hendrick's running an empire over there. So he's spending a whole different amount than Denny is. But Denny being brand new to this, hello, Taylor. Denny being brand new to this is still trying to catch up on the numbers. I haven't won as many races as Rick. I haven't won as many races as Roger or as Richard. So I'm just trying to keep up with you guys. I just got here.
It's literally a startup business.
I want to compete with you guys. Just help me out. So I think that's I think that's what's going on.
That's a good point, though.
But again, this is also a Denny Hamlin. What hurts him in this is he can be, not always, he can be pretty flash with his money.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, that could be the counter argument on him. I get it. But at the end of the day, he also knows, like, I'm getting paid by Joe Gibbs Racing while also running a side business that's competing against Joe Gibbs Racing. So it's a whole, that whole deal. He's getting money in two different areas.
Exactly. It's like if you think about teams that have started up since the year 2015.
Yep.
Like you can't really name any that have been successful.
Mhm.
The first one that comes to mind just because of numerical order is Starcom Racing.
Oh gosh. That's the thing. Like
Oh
if you
my
break it down,
God.
like Starcom dead.
Yep.
Live Fast dead.
Go Fast.
Dead.
Yeah.
BK Racing.
BK Racing. A scam.
A scam.
In so many ways. Even like I would say 23XI has been the most successful. And granted, they had a lot backing going into that with Denny
They had
and
big
Jordan.
money.
Right.
Like, you had the
Michael.
names. But like even like, and that's kind of, I don't want to call them a special exception to the rule, but they kind of are in some ways. But again, you're starting. It's if I were to, it's literally like, I'm going to get a little personal here. It's like if I were tomorrow to say I'm quitting or I'm still working my day job like Denny is, but I'm going to start my own personal videography company in a city where there's a lot of there's not a lot of video work, but there's a lot of videographers and photographers. Like, and it's one of those things where I'm saying, hey, can you guys let me help you on an event or help you with this and that? Like, I'm not going to get as much pay and my overhead's going to be really high because I'm just going to have to try and make ends meet at the end of the day. Now, it's not as bad because I'm still working my day job, still making money, but I want this other thing to be successful to a point where I'm assuming Denny's probably going to say one day, I am done with racing, and then just be, I'm a boss man. I'm going to wear a suit and tie and Jordans to work every day. I don't know, Denny. That's probably a bad depiction of you, and I apologize.
He'll give you a call.
Hey, man. I'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. But like, it's a genuine startup now. And like he wants to make a successful startup, and you can't blame him at the end of the day. It's just like, it's also inflation too of like, I'm sure it costs like, I don't even know, like a full season at Hendrick in the 80s and 90s was a couple like $100,000, and now it's 18 million to run it, like hire engineers. Like it's just the nature of the beast, sadly.
Yeah, I think we get
Jermaine dead, Levine family dead. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I think we get
All that.
because of how competitive 2311 racing is, we forget that they're only 4 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they are still paying off debts on how they started the company.
Oh yeah.
So that's something to remind ourselves of, because it can be easy to forget that most companies don't live to see their 5th year anniversary. It's just the sad truth of it. Obviously, this is by no means is this a small business. But a lot of businesses consider a 5-year anniversary a major success. There are a lot of leaps and bounds you got to go through to get to year 5. And the fact that they're continuing to get better is awesome. But behind the scenes are all the costs and all the payments that they have to make. It all adds up.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Furniture Row Racing. They closed the year after they won the cup.
Prime example right there. Yeah.
Yeah, like in my mind when I was coming up with those teams, the only other team in my brain that I can even remotely correlate to a successful startup team right now is Alpha Prime Racing in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah.
And even then, they're a little weird because they kind of existed with Martin's Motorsports, and then they just kind of all merged together and became a big thing. Like, there's not a lot of startups left right now. So, Spire, I maybe would argue is a successful one, but they're way more than just a racing team as compared to kind of 23XI. So,
could we technically consider Stewart Haas Racing a startup? Technically, because they were just Haas CNC Racing.
I'm qualifying this as a team that just didn't exist beforehand. Like if Denny Hamlin probably said, I don't have cars, I'm going to buy car and buy shop, as compared to Haas CNC, which said we have cars in somewhat of a shop that we can build off of. And then Spire's probably kind of one similar to that, I would say. So,
and Trackhouse kind of just inherited Ganassi.
Yeah.
Trackhouse put out their checkbook and said, all right, here you go.
Where were they building the 99 car in 2021? Was that
RCR shop?
RCR. Okay.
It was an RCR car and out of their stable. I think it was on the camp. It was a satellite to the main campus on the property.
Sort of like what Colleague is doing.
Yeah. Colleague and Big Machine
Jermaine.
Vodka and
everyone
else. So,
Ugh.
so,
Wow.
and now, kids, you have a business degree. Go and run one.
Congratulations. You can now own a NASCAR team. We've taught you everything you need to know in this short 45-minute course brought to
And
you by
for-
Above the Yellow Line.
If
Heck,
you
we're
can
going to
get-
give you 6 extra minutes for free.
If you can
Woohoo!
get one start in under your belt, you officially have the right to go ask for more money.
Can it be a starting park? Does that qualify?
Yes.
Morgan Shepherd Racing, here I come.
Prism, baby.
Prison.
MSRP Motorsports. Get
We
them
need to
white
set-
90s and 91 out.
We need to set the field max back to 43 and let those kids just give it a chance.
I need Dick Trickle
That's such a
smoking
bad
a
idea.
cigarette. Herb Thomas with his monkey or whatever.
Oh my God.
As my
Ugh.
computer freezes and crashes. Great.
This feels like it's time for us to go for our vacations.
I think it is time for vacation, everyone.
It's
So
time for
about the Earth and its shape. No, I'm kidding.
Everybody get your tinfoils out. Time for
Tinfoil hats
conspiracy
on.
theory hour.
Well,
This-
I want to let you all know we appreciate you joining us today. We are going to take next week off. We will probably be back the week after that to preview
I'm not
Richmond.
taking next week off.
Well, we'll from the live stream. From the live
No,
stream.
I will do a live stream for you.
Yeah, you know what? If you want to, I'll give you access. Go for it.
No, you don't need that. We can't
Oh,
afford
okay.
the
All right.
legal
All right.
fees.
ATYL goes ARCA again.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
The
Yeah,
Orca
but we'll
series.
we will take next week off so we can all kind of reset for the rest of the year for the 2024 NASCAR season. But thank you all so much for joining us tonight, and hopefully you have a good off week. Of course, there's plenty of racing going on during NASCAR's off weekends, but you know, top 3 series will not be happening for 2 weeks. But of course, make sure to go to tobychristie.com for all your NASCAR news. While you know we have the off season, I'm sure news will still be
Don't put
happening.
that
And
blasphemous letter on the golden boy.
And of course, oh my God. And of course, go to AboveTheGoalLine.com to get all your ATYL merch, learn more about us. We also will have creative content coming out on our social media platforms during this off weekend, so you're not just left hanging, you know. Last thing is, of course, follow us on our social media handles. They're all on the screen for you under our names, but obviously, of course, on the screen as well on the PowerPoint. Always have to have a PowerPoint. Okay, good. I was wondering if Dom, if you had your sign up or not. Spiders are our friend. Is that what it is? Oh, just Jeff Gordon. He has a name tag. So thanks to
There
Jeff
he is.
Gordon's
Beautiful.
for being here. Thanks, of course, to Adam, Ben, and Dom for joining me tonight on the live. And thank you all in the audience for tuning in to the chaos tonight. Hopefully we will come back refreshed, ready to go with good Wi-Fi. But love you all. Thank you all so much for the support. And we will see you after the break.